Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And I'm going to fly to Atlanta tomorrow. I'm going to Atlanta to do some different events, an investment seminar, as well as a couple speeches. I'm speaking at the We Buy Black convention, also doing a book signing on Friday. So if you want to come hang out, go to drboyceatlanta.com. That's drboyceatlanta.com. What I wanted to do was talk for a second about something I just saw. I was sitting here, I'm a sports fan like a lot of guys, and I like to watch ESPN. And so I'm watching ESPN and the analysis of the different commentators. And I've been following this story about a guy named Antonio Brown. I don't know if you guys know about Antonio Brown, but Antonio is a brother that used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he went to go to the Oakland Raiders after he kind of wore out his welcome in Pittsburgh. He got into a lot of back and forth with the quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. And next thing you know, Antonio Brown's being shipped across the country. And it was kind of crazy to watch, what was kind of happening. And, and I was kind of just really sort of trying to process it, trying to understand, what the situation was. And I still can't say that I know everything. I mean, I don't have inside information on it, but I've seen, what he said. I checked out Antonio Brown's YouTube channel to get his point of view. I've also seen what the media has been saying about him. And I think that there's something to analyze here in terms of race and how race plays a role in these sorts of things. Now, first of all, before I move forward, I want to say hello to everybody. I got New Zealand, Compton, Morocco, and Lagos, Nigeria. So we're real international tonight. I see New Jersey in there. Shout out your city, whatever city that you're from. I love it when people come from all over the world. So definitely shout out your city. And I want to welcome you guys. I don't want to sound rude by jumping into the topic. If you could hit the thumbs up button, I'd appreciate that as well. Thank you. I see London. Okay. Yeah, London. It makes sense based on the time. Syracuse. What's going on? Extra cheese. North Carolina. I love it. All right. So here's the thing, right? So I'm watching all this happen, right? And I'm looking at everybody's breakdown of Antonio Brown, the analysis of it. It's kind of like when I was looking at the Jay-Z Kaepernick thing. I really, people kept saying, "Oh, Doc, you're being wishy-washy, you're going back and forth." Well, that's because the reason it looked like I was going back and forth is because I was fucking going back and forth. That's what I was doing. That's what you do when you try to be fair and you're not picking sides before the debate begins. So yes, I was going back and forth because I could not figure out what really mattered in the Jay-Z Kaepernick thing. I was like, what's really going on? How, what's the dynamic here? How do you look at it? And what I figured out was I said, okay, these are two millionaires, basically two guys who have, one has 100 million in the bank, the other one has $1 billion in the bank, basically, and ain't none of that really trickling to the black community. So at the end of the day, I don't really give a fuck about like what individual success somebody has. I want to see it translate to the community, right? The other thing is, I said, okay, one guy's just mad because the other guy went and secured the bag before he could secure his bag because both of them was trying to get paid, right? That was another thought that I had, but it doesn't mean that they're both bad guys. It just means they were trying to get their money, right? And that's a different conversation from the one that people were trying to have, because black folks, we tend to worship heroes. We tend to look at celebrities and put them on a pedestal, and we ride with them no matter what, without really thinking about, okay, what is this person really doing for your life? Like, are they helping you and your kids eat better? Are they educating, 100,000 black children? Have they created 20,000 jobs in the hood? Like, what have they really done to change your life? Like, nothing, absolutely fucking nothing. They're entertainment for you. I'm just keeping it 100. It's late at night, so I might cuss a little bit more than usual. So that was my conclusion on the Kaepernick thing. I wasn't mad at Jay or mad at Kaepernick. I just saw it as like, okay, these are two guys. If Cap's mad because Jay made a deal with the NFL, but if Cap had made a deal with the NFL first, it would have been okay. Okay, well then shit. I mean, so what you're saying is like whoever gets the deal first is the winner, and the other person is gonna be mad. All right, whatever. I don't care about that. But here's the other thing. With Antonio Brown, I was just watching this, right? And I'm seeing this young brother, 28, 29 years old, however old he is, and he's got this massive contract. He signed for, I forget how much money he made in the NFL. The Raiders signed him to a really big deal. I think he got 30 million in guaranteed money, which is huge. And I looked at his record. I said, this guy must be really good for them to put up with all this shit, because he was acting a damn fool. He was going to media, talking about his quarterback, talking about the team owner. Then he went to the Raiders. He started bitching about his helmet, complaining about having frostbite on his toe. Just really kind of, starting things off on the wrong foot. And I was just sitting there. I was like, what is up with this guy? Like, I wouldn't want him on my team. But then I looked at his stats and I said, okay, now I see. this guy is damn good. Every year for several years in a row, I think he's been the top 4 receivers in the NFL. In a few years, he was the #1 receiver in the NFL, and that made sense. Now, what this also made me think about was Terrell Owens. I don't know if any of you saw when Terrell Owens was in the NFL, and he was also a great wide receiver who also had a lot of controversy because a lot of people thought that his attitude was messed up, that he wasn't the grateful kind of, I guess, bowing Negro that they wanted him to be. And I was completely against the mistreatment of T.O. because T.O. never did anything wrong. He never broke the law, from what I understand. It wasn't like he beat his wife, stole some chicken at the grocery store, or, whatever, was taking performance enhancing. Like, he didn't do anything illegal. So I just didn't understand why they were treating him the way that they did. Now, with Antonio Brown, though, I was concerned because I said, this guy doesn't seem like he's a good teammate. He seems like a person where money, because I'm an expert on money, and money has a huge psychological impact on how you view everything. Money can create a lot of false artificial confidence. Money is a drug. You can get doped up on that money and really start thinking that you're Superman. And I'm thinking, wow, this kid is really thinking that he can't be replaced. Like, he's really thinking he can say and do whatever he wants to do. And I think that's not going to end well for him. So that concerns me. But then I saw Stephen A. kind of break it down. Now, Stephen A., he's not sometimes he's straight cooning. Everybody, Stephen A. has been, he says some stuff where you'd be like, oh my God, did you really say that? But he's good at what he does, right? He gets probably $10 million a year from ESPN, and he deserves it because he knows sports very, very well. But he was analyzing the Antonio Brown thing, and I didn't disagree with his analysis in terms of saying that Antonio Brown's behavior was not, I didn't disagree with him when he was saying like Antonio Brown needs to stop. Like, just, you're really making yourself look silly. Stop doing this. I got that part. But then he started saying that, that basically he's making it harder for all the other black men in the NFL who are trying to get big contracts, that the owners are going to see his behavior and his embarrassing behavior, and it's going to make them think twice before they give a big contract to the next black person that comes along. So basically this guy, Antonio Brown, who is 28 years old, is somehow like the elected delegate of all black men, everywhere. And so Stephen A. is like, use best bees on your good behavior, boy, because master gonna see you and he ain't gonna pay nobody because of your boy. What you doing? You need to come back into the shed, boy. Stop acting like that, boy. Get your britches back in here, boy. Like it was real slavish. Like, I was like, really? Are we still on that in 2019 where we really believe that the behavior of one person is something that we have to monitor because they can embarrass everybody? Are we so naive that we believe we must cater to the ignorance of individuals who don't understand that black people are different, depending on which black person you talk to? We are not all the same. And any idiot who thinks that we're all the same, I don't have time to cater to that kind of retardation. Like, you're stupid. You're an idiot. I don't think every white person is the same. I don't see one white guy wearing a MAGA hat, carrying a shotgun, and calling black people the N-word. I don't look at him and say, oh, well, see, that's what those white people do. All of them do it. They all do it. No, we don't do that. We don't do that, right? And so I think Stephen A.'s analysis was disappointing because he kept going back to this point about embarrassing, and I try to teach African Americans that we have to watch how we behave, because if we don't, that's not exactly what he said. I'm not quoting him word for word, but it was kind of like that. Like, that was the tone. And God bless the other brother that was on with him. I wish I could have got his name. I didn't get his name, but he was basically saying, like, really, like, are you saying that every black man has to worry about what Antonio Brown did because they think it's going to reflect negatively on them? No, that's not the case. And the guy was right. And I think Stephen A., his position in terms of repeatedly reiterating this idea that Antonio Brown's behavior is a negative reflection on all of us, and it's going to affect the ability of other black male athletes to get big contracts, is about the craziest thing I've ever heard. I expected something deeper from him. I think that it could have been as simple as saying, if you want to give him advice as a black man, which I would be happy to do, to do. You know, I'm a black man too. I would probably just say he needs better mentors. Like he just needs somebody that's just going to sit him down and help him understand, like, look, man, like you're going to mess everything up for yourself. You ain't gonna mess it up for other black men. The other black men gonna get opportunities. You know, what you're gonna do is you're gonna mess it up for yourself. You know, because you know, I hate to see a person with that much talent, uh, you know, really not understand that everybody can be touched. You know, and I also think that Stephen's comments in terms of getting on this whole like Massa gonna get mad at all of us kind of bullshit. It's really a white supremacist statement. You know, it really kind of makes me wonder if Stephen A. Smith is a white supremacist, because a white supremacist basically is a person who believes that white people have all the supremacy, that white people possess this untouchable power that we must all submit to or perish. Right? I don't bow to white supremacy. You're not superior to me. I am not a white supremacist. If you are not a white supremacist, type it in the chat. I am not a white supremacist. I am not a white supremacist. That means that, you know, you can't go through life thinking that they're better than you, that they're stronger than you, that they're more powerful than you, that they can do things that you can't do. That's not true. You know, when we were talking earlier, Dr. Claude Anderson came on. It was basically, we were talking about the Jay-Z Kaepernick thing. And I said, another thing I figured out about the Jay-Z Kaepernick situation is that all their differences, all their problems would disappear if we simply started our own league. You know, I said, so Dr. Anderson, tell us about what life was like when we had the Negro Leagues. And basically, he described a time where we had all the best athletes in our community, all the money was coming back to our community, all the team owners were from our community, all the managers were from our community, all the businesses related to the league were from our community, all the endorsement deals were in our community. The party was here. The party was in the black community. And so white folks, if they wanted to be around the best athletes, they had to come through us. But instead, we gave all that up so we could get one Jackie Robinson. So the Kaepernick Jay-Z situation really is a scenario where basically Jay-Z is just the entertainment version of a Jackie Robinson. You know, he's kind of that one black guy that gets in and gets this big opportunity. And the rest of the black community is kind of sitting there just, you know, we're dealing with the same shit we were dealing with before. You know, these ambiguous, like, you know, community upliftment programs. Well, you know, I think that if those programs are to be taken more credibly, you got to show some data. Show me, for example, in Chicago, I'll give you an example. In Chicago, 45% of all the black males between the age 20 and 24 do not have a job and they are not in school. Show me a statistic that says in Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles, etc., we have made sure that 150,000 of the young black males in these cities this year have gotten jobs and they're being trained on how to start a business, right? They all take a test and they pass the test or whatever. So we got 150,000 more black entrepreneurs and we got 150,000 young black men who are now able to feed their families, right? Like we need real data on this stuff. You know, this ambiguous stuff like, oh, we're gonna do, you know, it's like I looked at the description of what Jay-Z was gonna do for the NFL and it was like entertainment, social justice, right? Like the social justice piece was like a footnote. Like, yeah, we're gonna do some social justice. Yeah, we're gonna do some more charity shit because y'all pathetic ass black people. Y'all ain't really worth a real investment. Y'all a charity case. So we're gonna donate some money to some shit just to make y'all shut the fuck up. Like that's what it came off to me as. And I think what will be more meaningful and more relevant is if you take the black community seriously, the way you take everybody else seriously. You know, Jay-Z's a great man, a great investor. He's invested in a lot of companies like Uber and Beyond Meat and all that. And I believe he has the capacity to also make substantial investments in the black community too. Put 20 million into a black startup that employs 300 black people, right? And share that, like market that. Let us know that happened and that these people are now going to be able to feed their family and their lives are transformed because your success has become their success. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is if you don't hold your celebrities accountable on some level, and I include myself in that category. I'm not a Jay-Z level celebrity, but I know a lot of celebrities and I go places and I have to sign autographs and all of that. So I guess technically that would make me kind of a famous person. And I think that you have to hold them accountable. Because if you don't, what you're going to get is you're going to get trickle down economics. Trickle down economics was something that happened during the Reagan administration, where they gave a bunch of money to the wealthiest people in America under the assumption that that success, that prosperity was going to trickle down to everybody else, to the masses. And the problem was it didn't trickle down. You go to a lot of African countries, you go to Nigeria, ain't no reason, there should not be a single poor person anywhere in Nigeria. There should not be one person in poverty in Nigeria. What the fuck? I go to Nigeria, they got all that goddamn oil. I go to Nigeria, I'm seeing poverty like you would not believe. And they got all that damn oil. And what's going on in a lot of these countries is they're taking care of the Jay-Z level people at the top, and they're getting the hookup. They're driving Range Rovers and Bentleys and doing, taking $50,000 vacations to London and shit. And you got people they're driving through mobs of people who can't even eat every day. And some of y'all from Nigeria, I love Nigerian culture. Y'all heard me talk about Nigerian culture with much respect, because actually some studies have actually rated Nigerian culture as the leading culture on earth. And when it comes to producing highly educated, highly successful people and very strong families, I respect that. But some of that stuff, that poverty, like, I mean, how can you have all that oil and have so much poverty? And it ain't just Nigeria, it's a lot of countries like that. Why? Well, because you get into these situations where somehow we think that there's supposed to be some motherfucker at the top of the building who's got more money than Jesus, and they're surrounded by all these poor people who sit and bow to them and idolize. So you're sitting there, you're struggling, the hood is struggling. Marcy Projects is still the projects last time I checked. But everybody's like happy because Jay-Z rolled through and Jay-Z stopped by and Jay-Z gave a couple of homeless people $100 bills. I think that we should have a higher standard than that. It doesn't mean we're criticizing Jay-Z. It just means I think we should have a higher standard than that. A lot of communities have a higher standard than that. If you want to understand it in detail, go to watch the video I did with Dr. Claude Anderson today. He breaks that down. He explains that how the Jews and Asians and other groups look at success differently from the way African Americans look at success. African Americans love to worship our celebrities, even to our own detriment. So I don't really care if you're team Jay-Z or if you're team Kaepernick. That's like telling me that you're a Democrat or a Republican. Ain't no Democrat gonna save your community. Ain't no Republican gonna save your community. Jay-Z is off making money with the NFL for Blue Ivy. Kaepernick ain't even talking. He's not. I think he wrote an article finally, but he's literally not even talking. And the problem for Kaepernick and the fact that he's not talking, I know he's not talking because of the money, right? He's trying to protect his money. Fine, protect your money, but just know, not talking. If you're not talking, you're not going to get credit for talking, right? We're not going to pretend like you talk, because we're not going to be like, well, he should be talking, but he's not talking because he's trying to get his money. Well, okay, keep get your money, but don't then try to go and say, okay, or compare or allow people to compare you to a Muhammad Ali who turned down money so he could keep talking. Muhammad Ali could have also been very, very quiet, but Muhammad Ali said, I don't care how much money you offer me. I'm going to keep talking because my people need to hear me. My people need to know that I'm there with them, that I'm going through it with them, right? So, I think Kaepernick seems like a good dude. But I think that what's unfortunate about this whole thing with Jay-Z, if I were him from a strategic standpoint, I probably would have just not said a word when Jay-Z made his deal. I would have told my girlfriend, Anessa, who's doing all the talking for him, I would have been like, look, babe, you need to be quiet. I would have told Eric Reed, like, thank you for the tweets, but it's all good. Let Jay do what he's going to do. We're going to do what we're going to do. But when you come out and you're criticizing, then what that does is that makes people start looking at you. That makes people start becoming skeptical of you. Like, wait a minute, hold on, let me do the research. And I talked to my friends at ESPN. I got friends at ESPN and Fox Sports, all of that. And they were sending me information. They were like, well, you do know that when Kaepernick was the starting quarterback, he wasn't kneeling, he wasn't protesting. He started protesting when he was on the bench. And I was like, really? I said, so what? Tell me more. They're like, yeah, well, because at that point he was worried that he was going to lose that $126 million contract. And I'm not saying all this is true. I'm just saying this is what people were saying to me. So I'm kind of like, wow. So this sounds like it was a labor dispute. Not that he did anything unethical, but it sounds like it wasn't so much like I'm gonna sacrifice everything for the people. It was more like, okay, I'm the black guy who goes to work and I'm being mistreated. So now I'm gonna pick up the mantle and become the dangerous black man, the dangerous, loud, radical black man, because I'm being mistreated. I wasn't gonna be that guy when I was being treated well, right? It reminds me of when I worked at Syracuse University. from the day I walked in to the day I left, they hated my guts. They regretted hiring me from day zero. That's why I empathize with Antonio Brown. Who knows? Maybe they saw me like the way they see Antonio Brown. I have no idea. But anyway, there was a black lady I worked with who literally did not talk to me. She did not speak to me. She stayed away from me. I was toxic because she did not want the white colleagues to see her associating with a radical black person. So she kept her distance. And she actually told me. She actually honestly told me that. And so years later, I saw her. So I realized she wasn't speaking to me. So for 6 years straight, I didn't talk to her at all or whatever. And then one day she like follows me into my office. I'm like, why is she following me? Like, I don't talk to you, you crazy ass, whatever, you know. And she came in and she was like, Boyce, let me tell you what these white people are doing to me. They're doing this and this and this and this. And I'm just sitting here like, damn, like, so now you want to get all Kunta Kinte and shit? Because now that white people have started to act white, you're like, now you want to like join the revolution, like when you was ready to let me just sit out there and get lynched, you know, in front of everybody, and you weren't gonna say shit. But now that they're treating you a certain way, now suddenly you're informing me of how racist they are, when I wasn't trying to inform you of that when we first walked up in the building, and letting you know that if we're unified, we can actually get something done. But if we're divided, we're not gonna win. So ultimately, I think that, you know, that there is that debate, there is that argument. Now, if there's data that differs from this, like if Kaepernick was taking a knee when he was the starting quarterback, going to the Super Bowl and all this other great stuff that he did, then tell me I'm wrong. But from what people told me, you know, my friends at ESPN, Fox Sports, they text me back. They were like, yeah, it looks like he was just mad because he was trying to protect his money. He made it a racial thing. And they kind of, you know, kind of got me a little bit. Let me see here. I'm gonna read some of your questions. I'm gonna get on out of here. Gregory says, by the way, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. And just a reminder, I'll be in Atlanta this weekend. So if you want to come out, I'm having a book signing on Friday and also doing a seminar on Sunday and speaking at the We Buy Black convention on Saturday. The seminar is 8 hours. The other things are about 30 minutes. I'll be speaking to We Buy Black convention for 30 minutes. All right, so you can go to drboyceatlanta.com if you want to learn more, drboyceatlanta.com. I had a literal dream that when we began to focus on us, martial law showed up and the killings got worse. They are trying to police us into assimilation. We got into too many and erase our bloodline. We got to intermarry and erase our bloodline. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I did a video that you guys should check out called What a Billionaire Told Me About Black People. And on this video, I was talking about this billionaire I met who was a white guy, who was a libertarian. And he vibed with what I do. I was surprised. He said, I watch your channel and I like what you're saying. And I'm like, but you're not even black. Like, I'm sitting there like, okay, what's the catch? Come on, you're a white guy. Why are you saying this? And basically, he just likes the idea of power. He likes, you know, he said, I just like the fact that you're talking about real power. He said, but one thing that you have to make sure people understand is that when you are really gaining real power, people are not going to just let you quietly get power. They're not going to politely allow you to accumulate power without challenging you. You know, like if the United States government, you know, knows that a small country is building a nuclear weapon, they will threaten to go bomb that country because they don't want those weapons turned against them. So when they see you gaining power, he said, when you run up the mountain shooting, they're going to shoot back, and you need to be ready for that. If you're not ready to be shot at, then you shouldn't do no shooting yourself. So if you're not ready for people to impose their power to try to harm you or disable you or to undermine what you're doing, if you're not ready for COINTELPRO up their ass and black people getting shot in the street and bad things happening, Black Wall Street getting burned down and terrible things happening, then you shouldn't even be in this battle. You shouldn't even be on this channel. You should probably go somewhere else where people just, you know, I don't know, they watch Netflix and stuff or talk about love and hip hop, like, because this is not the place for people who are scared. You can't go in and punch the bully and think that the bully is not going to punch you back. That's just a reality. Let me see here. I'm looking at some more of your questions. Let's see. Respectfully, my problem with black men, says Sharon, y'all talk, cry, compare, and complain too much. The past them, that community, a godly mind is a clear mind. Okay. I don't understand your comment, but thank you for making it. Let's see here. Ryan says, for some reason, this feels like they are trying to split our community. We need to stay together, not let this moment divide us. I agree. I think that we can stay unified and make, you know, if you're Team Jay-Z or Team Kaepernick, I think that can be secondary in the debate. I think that can be secondary because as long as you're Team Black people. Because remember, as I said, Jay-Z, unless Jay-Z's showing up at your house and he's going to pay your mortgage next month, who cares what the fuck deals Jay-Z makes in terms of business? If Kaepernick is gonna buy you a new car and put your kids through school, then you have a reason to be Team Kaepernick. But if he's not doing any of that, then just understand Kaepernick is taking care of Kaepernick. You take care of you. And so I think all these issues that might divide us, I don't think they have to divide us. You can literally tell me, Boyce, I disagree with you. I heard what you said about Jay-Z, or I heard what you said about Kaepernick, and I don't like it, and that's okay. And we can disagree. It's okay to disagree, and we can still be friends. That's like you telling me you like strawberries and I like blueberries. Like, I'm not gonna fight you over that. Like, fine, okay, let's just go on and do something that actually matters. Let's see here. I commented respectfully, sir. Get out of your feelings, okay? It says Sharon, okay? She's in there arguing with somebody. I'm going to go ahead and ignore. Okay, wait, somebody. She really in there fighting with somebody. Okay, y'all are so funny. I'm gonna get out of here. Nightmare Caulk says, Boyce, I disagree with you on Cap. That's okay. That's totally cool. Let me see. Billy Pickett says you're wrong. Cap was benched after his surgery because he had injury clause in his contract. Cap sat because of shooting. He said, yeah, I just want to know the sequence of events. When did he get surgery? Because they talked about the surgery. The Sports Insider said, the guy said he got surgery on his non-throwing arm or something. And because there's actually a clause that says something like you can't get cut when you're injured. So they were claiming, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying this is what they were saying. This person clearly wasn't a Cap fan though, but they're a sports expert, but they weren't on Cap's side. I'll say this. And they were saying that the injury was something where it's like, oh yeah, I'm injured. Now you can't cut me, because the contract was really big. And I guess in the NFL, they can chop you if you're not performing at a level that matches the amount that they're paying you. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. We know for a fact, here's what we know for sure. Here's what we know for sure. You cannot argue against me on this. We know for a fact that some significant percentage of Kaepernick's actions are based on money. We know this for a fact. Does that make him a bad person? No, because most of y'all are going to get up and do something tomorrow because of money. Most of y'all are going to get up and maybe spend 8 hours of work because of money. So that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. But when you know this, then, if I know that he's sitting on Twitter and not talking to the public hardly at all, he's retweeting people because he's trying to protect his money, then I'm just sitting there thinking, like, are there other things he did to protect money? Because $126 million is a lot of money. I will say it can't be a criticism I'm making a Cap, because I don't even know if I do the same thing. I mean, how many of you, if you had $126 million on the line, wouldn't be willing to kind of make some adjustments to protect your $126 million? That's a lot of money. That ain't 50 grand. That's $126 million. You're in your 20s getting $126 million. I might be tempted to go to do whatever, but to protect that by any means necessary. So he could have been playing a game with the 49ers, but that doesn't mean that he didn't believe in the causes that he was standing up for. I just think that you got to just see it for what it is. And, if he's kneeling out of convenience to, to racialize this labor dispute that he's having with the 49ers, that should be noted. That does not mean he doesn't care about the issue. But at the same time, you can't go back and say, give him credit for, putting $126 million on the line because he's standing up for black people. Like, I don't care. I'm throwing the money away because I want to stand up for my people. No, you didn't really do that. You didn't do that part. Like, you still got your bag. You're still working for Nike. You're still quiet on Twitter because you're trying to protect your money from your lawsuit, whatever it is that you got going on. So in some ways, I'm not saying that Kaepernick is worse than the rest of us. He's probably better than a lot of people because he used the platform for something good. But I think that he is simultaneously, he's not a guide. Like, I think that's the thing that people do sometimes, that where we get a little carried away, is we put people on these crazy pedestals like they can do no wrong and like they're perfect. And that ain't what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any kind of God. I'm seeing a guy who is human like the rest of us. And so why is that important? Well, because then, when you look at the Jay-Z versus Kaepernick debacle, which is that's what it is, you see it in a different context. You see it as two regular guys, both, playing a multi-million-dollar game with the NFL, where they're both positioning jockeying for position to get a deal with the NFL. Cap wanted a deal with the NFL. He's been sitting around. He's got the little ticker on his Twitter saying, saying this is how many days I've been out of work. This is how many days I haven't played. These are how many days I haven't been on the field. These are how many days I haven't got a chance to show my skills. How many days I haven't been getting paid, right? It ain't like we community this, right? I mean, ain't no whole lot of we's. It's me. It's a whole lot of me's, a whole lot of I's. Like, I haven't worked. And you guys should feel somehow compelled to sacrifice to make sure that I get to work again. I'm not with that. I don't really care if you get a job or not. I care about police brutality and black men being shot in the street. So if you never get to work again, but that means we solve the problem, then I want to solve the problem. You got your $126 million contract, and they probably paid you about $40 million of it. Go have a nice life, and go be an icon. Go write books and give $50,000 speeches for the rest of your life. You're good. Nike doesn't, pay pennies for big promotions like they did with Kaepernick. So you're good, bro. Like, good luck to you. So I think that's what probably got me was like, what are you're offended because Jay made a deal before you did? Like, he got his money and you didn't get none. He didn't bring you along. Because that's all I'm seeing. That's really all I'm seeing. But maybe there's more to it. Maybe I'm wrong. I probably am. I'm an asshole half the time. So I apologize for that. But no, I'm not. I can't. I'm not really apologizing. I'm just pretending. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the share and subscribe button. And I think this will be the last time I'm talking about the Kaepernick thing. But I brought it up a few times because it keeps on coming up, and I keep looking at it from different angles and coming up with different conclusions. And as far as Stephen A. and Antonio Brown, I wish Antonio Brown the best. I wish he, would listen to somebody who could talk some sense into him, because I think he's going to blow a really big opportunity. But I think it's unfair I think that black males do get unfairly characterized in the media. I think that if he is pulling these shenanigans and he is kind of an arrogant prick, but he's producing like hell on the football field, then who gives a shit? Who cares if he's eccentric, right? He's producing. But the only time I think it does matter, though, is if it affects the ability of other players to do their job, if it affects the chemistry of the team, because the team has to be more important than the individual. And I don't think Antonio Brown is mature enough to understand that. So Stephen A. is actually correct in that regard. But this whole, you need to behave so that white people won't think that all black men act like this, I think that's kind of that's some shit you would have said in 1944 or something. But I think Stephen A. hopefully he knows better than that. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys in Atlanta if you want to stop by. DrBoyceAtlanta.com. That's DrBoyceAtlanta.com. Also, the All Black National Convention is in Houston in September, so you can go to AllBlackNationalConvention.com if you want to get a pass for that. AllBlackNationalConvention.com. And if you want to get financial workbooks or flashcards for your kids, feel free to go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. You should teach your kids financial literacy. They need to know how to invest and all that stuff. So I'll see you guys soon. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.